This is the actor Michael Landon. He was born Eugene Maurice Orowitz, October the 31st, 1936, in Forest Hills, a neighborhood of Queens, New York. His parents were Eli and Peggy O'Neill Orowitz. Eli was the head of RKO's publicity in New York, a Jewish actor and theater manager. Peggy was an Irish-American Catholic dancer and comedian. Michael had one sister, 3 years older. Her name was Evelyn. When Michael was around 4 years old, the family moved to Collinswood, New Jersey. It was not a happy childhood because his mother, Peggy, was not mentally stable. Landon said that his mother was never happy and gloom always hung over their home. It wasn't so bad, he said, when he was too young to realize what was happening. But around 12 or 13, he said, I became the mentor between reality and insanity. He said his sister Evelyn, that they called Victoria, was of little help. Although she was older, she was the favored one. My mother, he stated, was a stabber and a wacko. She was totally off her rocker. Far back, he said, as I can remember. Once she came after me with a knife. You never knew what was coming when you reached home after school. If she was in her nightgown, you knew that she was upset and was going to try to kill herself. She'd be holding a Bible and asking God to kill me, he said. If it was Tuesday, it must be suicide day. Once at the beach, she tried to drown herself. I saved her, and it was the worst day of my life. It made me sick and throwing up. But she acted as though nothing at all happened. Heck, I was grown before I realized not all mothers tried to kill themselves. My parents were always fighting. I was a bedwetter until I was 12 years old. The damn thing made my life a nightmare, he said. They made me sleep in a small crib like a baby. She would hang the wet sheets out of my bedroom window so that my friends could see. And I would have to run home from school every day to remove it before any of my schoolmates came by. I learned to hide my sheets in a bag, and after school I'd stop by the washateria and wash them, then replace the wet ones. They thought that I'd quit wetting, so they bought me a regular-sized bed. Michael attended Collinswood High School. This is him on the front row left of the Collinswood yearbook. His grades suffered despite a very high IQ. Although he was small, he was excellent in field and track, especially in javelin throwing. He won a scholarship to the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. His javelin toss was the longest in the United States high schools for that year, 1954. With Michael going to college in Los Angeles, Eli decided to move his family to L.A., hoping to find a better job with help from friends that he had helped while in New York, and was now in the movie business in Los Angeles. Michael stated that those people wouldn't even talk to my dad. So he ended up toting film canisters up 5 flights of stairs to the projection room in a crummy downtown L.A. theater. Landon stated his freshman year he had high hopes, but 2 things happened to Michael Landon during his first year at college that caused him to quit school. First, his fellow athletes who had short hair held him down and cut off his long hair. It was degrading to Michael. Second, he tore a ligament in his arm. After leaving in his freshman year, he worked several jobs. While unloading of freight cars at a warehouse, he was asked by a co-worker if he wanted to help him in a tryout audition that needed 2 people to perform a scene. He said okay. He found that he could act and enjoyed it. He then decided that he would attempt to become an actor. He took a job pumping gas at a station across the street from Warner Brothers studio. One of the studio executives suggested that he take acting classes. He started the next day. During this time, Landon had met Dodie Levy Frazier, who was a 26-year-old widow with an 11-year-old son, Mark. Dodie's husband had been killed in an automobile accident a few years earlier. Michael and Dodie were married on March 11, 1956. Landon quickly adopted Mark as his son. Mark will become an actor and play in several movies, and on March 11, 2009, at the age of 63, he'll be found dead in his West Hollywood home. Mark had been suffering from muscular dystrophy and had been taking Valiums for the pain. The first 2 months of marriage, Michael and Dodie lived in Dodie's apartment. Michael worked part-time while looking for acting parts. Dodie's legal secretary's salary was not enough to keep the lease on the apartment, so the family had to move to a utility room in an apartment building that was run by Dodie's grandmother. Eugene Maurice Orwitz will pick his future movie name from the Los Angeles phone book. As Michael Landon, he'll receive his first part in a television show entitled Telephone Time. He will soon start receiving more parts, and in 1957 he will receive his first starring role in I Was a Teenage Werewolf with Yvonne Lime and Whit Bissell. The next year, in 1958, he'll be in several movies such as Mary Carbo with Cornell Weil and Gene Wallace, High School Confidential with Mamie Van Doren, Russ Tablin, and a cameo by Jerry Lee Lewis. Next was God's Little Acre with Tina Louise and Robert Ryan. In 1959, Landon will star in The Legend of Tom Dooley, as well as a number of weekly Western TV shows. At the age of 22, Michael Landon was up for a part in a new Western called Bonanza. There were 2 other actors also trying out for the part of Little Joe Cartwright. That was Robert Blake and Robert Fuller. Director Dave Dortor thought that Landon was too young for the part, until his wife convinced him that Landon would be liked by the people as Little Joe. Landon will play the youngest son of Ben Cartwright, who was played by actor Lorne Greene. Michael and Lorne Greene will become close friends. Michael's father, Eli Orwitz, will pass away from a heart attack that same year. He said that he loved his dad and he learned a lot from him. Lorne Greene will become Michael's surrogate father. Lorne had been born in Ontario, Canada, from Russian Jewish parents. Dan Blocker and Pernell Roberts were both closer in age to Lorne because they were 31 and Lorne was only 44. In 1960, Michael and Dodie adopted a newborn infant they named Josh Frazier Landon. The Landons were now making good money and were living at 2237 North New Hampshire Avenue, a house once owned by silent star Clara Bow. While on the set of Bonanza, Landon meets Marjorie Lynn Noe, an actress and model that appeared as a saloon girl on Bonanza's episode Bitter Water in 1960. Landon said that he and Dodie were drifting apart and that they were staying together mostly for the boys that he loved. He once said that he hated it when they were referred to as his adopted children. They're my kids, he said, and they'll be mine as long as I live. He told a friend that Dodie wanted to adopt another child, thinking that it would hold their marriage together. He was against it, because their marriage, he said, was already on shaky ground. In 1961, she adopted Jason Smith, and 10 months later, after Michael and Dodie divorced on December the 1st, 1962, Dodie received custody of the boys. But for some reason, she decided that she couldn't take care of her youngest son. After learning from her hairdresser of a Texas couple who had grown children and had enough love for a young son, Billy Smith was 56 and Alma was 54. The Texas couple drove all night to Los Angeles to the home of Mary Sharknock, Dodie's hairdresser. Mary said that Dodie walked across her front lawn, handed the 3-year-old Jason to Alma, got in her car, and left. After her divorce with Landon, Dodie Landon Lake will be remarried in 1976, and she will live in Palm Springs, California. Margaret Lynn Noel and Michael Landon will marry on January the 12th, 1963. Lynn had been married twice before, first to Michael Pontrelli, and they had one child, Cheryl Ann. She then married Manny Bear and divorced in 1962. Michael and Lynn will build this house at 16401 Garvin Drive in Encino. They will live here until 1974. Michael will attempt to adopt his stepdaughter Cheryl, but her father will object. Michael will express to Cheryl that although he was unable to adopt her, she would always be his daughter. Although Landon had problems with vodka and pills, he was always a good father. Lynn and Michael will have their first child, Leslie Ann Landon, 11 October 1962. Leslie will become an actress and clinical psychologist. Their second child was born June the 30th, 1964, Michael Landon Jr. Michael Jr. will become an actor, director, and producer. In 1965, after 6 seasons on Bonanza, Parnell Roberts will grow tired of his role as Adam Cartwright and will quit the show. Dan Blocker, Michael, and Lauren Green will become closer friends. They will even go into business together, forming the Bonanza Steakhouse restaurant chain. Little Joe will receive more fan mail than the others, and he will take advantage of it by pressuring Executive Director David Dortor to allow him to write and direct. In 1972, the show will be hit with a serious blow when Dan Blocker will pass away of a blood clot in his lungs after a routine gallbladder operation. No one could take Dan's place, and Bonanza will soon close the next year. Bonanza will be filmed in color and become the second longest running Western on TV under Gunsmoke, lasting 14 seasons and 431 episodes on NBC. On December the 4th, 1971, the Landons will have their third child, Shauna. She will become an actress and will hold her privacy very dear. The same year that Bonanza was closing, 1973, Michael and Lynn's oldest daughter, Cheryl, had a very serious automobile accident while attending the University of Arizona. She was the only survivor out of 4 students and was in a coma for days. She became addicted to drugs, and her parents later had to send her for help to a drug rehabilitation center for 2 years. Michael was sympathetic because he had similar problems himself during the first few years of Bonanza. When Bonanza ended, Michael became depressed and said, "Depression runs in my family." Finally, he was presented with a script that his wife and daughter loved, a book that was written in the 1930s by Laurel Ingalls Wilder. And in 1974, Michael Landon will become the executive producer. He will act, write, and direct Little House on the Prairie. Michael will play Charles Ingalls, and Karen Grassel will play Carolyn Ingalls. Now this is a picture of the real Charles and Carolyn Ingalls. Lori Ingalls was played by 9-year-old Melissa Gilbert. Mary was played by Melissa Sue Anderson, and Nellie Olson was played by Allison Ingram. Just as Little House was starting, Michael and Lynn moved into this Beverly Hills estate at 1162 Tower Road. On February the 27th, 1975, Lynn and Michael had their fourth child, Christopher Bo Landon. Chris will become a film director, producer, and screenwriter like his father. The next year after Chris was born, and while still working on Little House, Landon will write and direct a movie entitled The Loneliest Runner. Michael Landon was a hard worker and a heavy smoker, sometimes up to 4 packs a day. Melissa Gilbert stated that she always felt safe with Michael, and after her father died when she was 11, she would spend weekends at the Landon's home playing with his children. Michael met Cindy Clerco in 1981 as a makeup artist on Little House. They'll develop a romance. The cast will be against it because the public expected him to act like Charles Ingalls. Even his little star, Melissa Gilbert, becomes estranged from him until 10 years later when she learned from television that he was fighting cancer. She got back together with him and they renewed their father-daughter friendship. Also in 1981, Michael's mother, Peggy, will pass away. And on January the 2nd, 1982, Michael Landon and Lynn Noel will divorce after 19 years of marriage. The family will be crushed. Michael will say that his divorce from Lynn cost him $26 million plus a 35-room Beverly Hills mansion. Lynn will refuse to attend Michael's funeral and said that the divorce itself was like a funeral to her. She will pass away in November 2015 at the age of 82. Michael will marry Cindy Clerco on Valentine's Day, February the 14th, 1983. They will live at his Malibu Beach home. That same year, Little House on the Prairie will be canceled after 8 years. Cindy and Michael will have a daughter, Jennifer Rachel, born August 29th, 1983. Jennifer will become a daytime Emmy-winning actress on TVs as the world turns. The next year, Landon will produce another movie, Sam's Son. Also, as soon as Little House ended, Landon began looking for another project. He found it in Highway to Heaven. In Highway to Heaven, Landon asked his good friend, Victor French, who played Mr. Edwards on Little House, to co-star with him on Highway to Heaven. Highway will become another success story for Landon, and it will last for 4 years until 1988. Michael will own Highway outright. He will write, direct, act, and produce. It was his creation. He will hire his son, Michael Jr., on as his camera crew, and his daughter Jennifer will appear in the last episode. During this time that Landon was creating Highway to Heaven, he was also the executive producer on Father Murphy. That starred Merrill Olsen from Little House. Father Murphy will last from November 1981 until September 1983. On August the 5th, 1986, 2 years before the end of Highway, Michael and Cindy will have their second child, Sean Matthew Landon. Sean will become a real estate developer later on in life. In September 1987, Michael will go to the Santa Monica St. John's Hospital and Health Center to visit his friend Lauren Green. Green went in for ulcer surgery and developed trouble. Michael said he asked Lauren, "How are you doing, Paul?" He said he always called Lauren Paul. He said Lauren smiled. Lauren Green passed away September 11th, 1987, at the age of 72. 1 year after Highway to Heaven ended in 1988, Michael will again be shocked to learn that his best friend, Victor French, was diagnosed with lung cancer. He will only live 2 months after his diagnosis. Victor French will pass away June 15th, 1989, at the age of 54. In 1990, Michael Landon will purchase a 10-acre ranch at the end of Bonanza Drive in Malibu. He will have this home built for him and Cindy to be able to have all of Michael's children to come and enjoy it, and they all be together. In February of 1991, while on a skiing vacation in Utah, Michael will begin to suffer from abdominal pain. And on April the 5th, 1991, Michael Landon was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, which was metastasized to his liver and lymph nodes. It was terminal. Sandy was crying as she told Michael's children the terrible news. Michael began losing weight, taking chemotherapy and experimental drugs, but it was too late. On May the 9th, 1991, Michael appeared on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. It was the highest-rated show ever. He assured his fans that he would fight his cancer as long as he could. 12 days later, on May the 21st, he will undergo near-fatal surgery for a blood clot in his left leg. And on July the 1st, 1991, only 3 months after being diagnosed with cancer, Michael Landon will pass away at his Malibu ranch home. His wife Cindy and Michael's children will be at his side. Michael Landon's star is on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's located at 1500 North Vine, Hollywood. Michael will be placed in the family mausoleum at Hillside Memorial Park Cemetery in Culver City. Michael wrote these words for an episode on Little House. Remember me with smile and laughter, for that's the way I'll remember you all. If you can only remember me with tears, then don't remember me at all. Michael Landon was 54 years old.